What's up, people? Welcome to the Youth Ministry Podcast. It is your host, Karsten Williams, and our other host,
Jared Furs.
Come on, baby. We are glad to be here. Today, the topic is something interesting, something that probably every youth ministry of all time has dealt with. Growth versus depth. Now, a lot of churches, a lot of youth groups, me and Jared were talking about this before, a lot of youth groups feel like you can't, I mean, really a lot of churches in general feel you can't do both of these really well.
Yeah.
I know that our church definitely doesn't do it perfectly.
No.
But it's an important conversation. But before we talk about what it is and what the tension is between the two of them, I think we need to define them.
Absolutely,
So,
yeah.
specifically to youth ministry, growth would be increasing the number of students that come to a midweek on a Tuesday night, a Sunday night, a Wednesday night, whatever you guys do. That's what growth is just the increase of students coming to your ministry. And then depth would be helping students actually grow spiritually in their faith, in their character, and even in their biblical knowledge, what some people would call discipleship.
Absolutely.
But in a more smaller way, we could call it growth.
Yeah. And I think too, and I love the definition, giving the why of why these matter. So like what will happen too within youth ministry is people become jealous of one of the two, or they'll be like, they'll try to paint the jealousy differently and like it's a righteous justification or whatever, like, oh, they're so big, whatever. But no, number one is like, why does growth matter? Well, it's because every student matters, right?
Yep.
And even if it's like students that are just coming for whatever it may be, it's like every student matters. And why does depth matter? It's because at the end of the day, we want to build like biblically sound, good foundational men and women of God that are going to change the world.
Yeah, the goal is to draw these students into a place where they can actually seek the heart of Christ more and bring them closer into a relationship with Him.
Absolutely.
And we want to give them that space.
100%. Yeah.
So, but in order to do one, you have to be able to do the other as well. But before you grow really big, usually the formula looks like growing in depth first. Yeah. Maybe that's in small groups, maybe that's in student leadership, but that's really the answer that we're going to come to at the end with a couple of questions. Yeah. But there is a tension between the two, like you said, but we look at the life of Jesus, which is really how we should probably model all ministry that we do, is we look at the Bible, what they talked about, what Jesus did, and what He actually did and said Himself. In the Sermon on the Mount, at the very beginning, Jesus is talking to His disciples. It says He sat down on a mount with His disciples, and at the end of it, it says Jesus addressed the crowds, and the crowds looked at Him. So very clearly, we see that Jesus did both of these, where He walked through life with disciples. This might be elementary to some of you, but it is the truth. And then He also spoke to crowds, really meaning that a church can't be too big. A youth ministry can't be too big. But the importance is exactly what Jesus did, that we have both the depth that can lead to the growth.
Absolutely. And I think that, and it's key too, to focus on who He is and then reflect that within our own. And I think if you really study, and this is what I think being at Bayside, being with high level leaders like your campus pastor, Kurt, has really taught me this, is to analyze what you do and why you do it. And Kurt does this with every facet and aspect of his ministry, and he's thought through it, where I just did things, and there was things I did naturally I didn't even realize I did naturally, that I've had to come aware of and study it and really help. Because the truth is, and you've kind of alluded to this, like you can't really do one without the other.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you want to be, there is no other. So if your church is like, hey, we're growing really deep. Well, if you're growing really deep and you're not growing physically as well, you're doing something wrong. Yeah. And if you're growing physically wide, but your students aren't growing physically deep, you're doing something wrong. Right. And so they got to go hand in hand. But the problem is we really become lopsided. We become short-sighted and short-handed. Then we wonder why we're not growing. And it's because we're putting the focus in the wrong place, which I think Jesus gives a great illustration of what I don't like the word balance because we've abused it, but what a healthy ministry looks like. Right. And a healthy spiritual walk and a healthy leader life. And He gives that example so well. So where are we going next with this?
Well, we want to talk through 4 really practical ways that we can give you to walk away, say tangibly, I can walk away and do this in my ministry, and over the next year or 2 years, see growth in our students and also see growth in your ministry as far as students that are actually coming.
Yeah.
So,
and so here are 4 things that I've learned over the years of doing this, and I think you guys have done it really well at our Bayside Auburn campus. I've seen it here. I've seen it work at other campuses. Even when I church plant, it's like to grow physically, you have to grow deep. And I would say you want to put the deep stuff before the big stuff because you have to have the infrastructure built. But here are 4 things that are going to really help you wherever you're at grow your youth ministry in both these categories. And the first thing is think small. Think small. So we a few years ago we went to this student leadership conference. It's put on by Student Leadership University, and I went to this breakout, and they said that 95% of youth pastors say student development or student leadership development is very important. But then they asked those same youth pastors, how many of you are doing it? And it was like 15% were doing
crazy.
it. So it's like, I think most youth pastors would say, yes, student leadership development is really good and really great, but then the majority of them aren't doing it. And then they did a follow-up survey, and they studied these youth groups around the nation, and they said about 10% of their, like the healthy churches, like all of the ones that were doing it, of this 10% of the youth groups that they studied, they said were healthy. So not like, it wasn't a big number. It was a very small number that were healthy. All of them had student leadership, and all of them are doing it well.
Wow.
And so when it comes to thinking small, I think a lot of times we get so consumed on the numbers and the big, but the truth is we need to think small, and student leadership and student development should be a big part of that. It's taking a small group of your leaders, your influential kids, and helping them grow and develop into being the leaders God called them to be. I would say that's the most crucial thing, is thinking small, doing those small things, leadership development. Every student matters. What is your welcoming process? Is it easy for a new student to come to your campus to get connected and then want to come back?
Yeah, what's the process?
What's the process? My buddies over at Mariners Church, they do a great job. They have a welcome box they give every student. It comes with a T-shirt. They get to shoot the impossible shot. They give like stickers and things that incentivize them to want to come back, a calendar. Like they do the small things well. They make it easy to onboard a student. When a student shows up at your ministry, how easy is it for them to get connected? Yeah. Right? They do the small things well. They think through the intangibles. Hey, when that student checks in, how easy is it for them to connect them with their small group leader? What's the process of following up with that student later in that week? Because here's the thing, is like a lot of us, we do these big events, we do these great things. Do you do just connecting with the students and texting them throughout the week? Yeah.
Yeah, we live in what they call the microwave culture, where you want everything really fast, and if it's not fast, they look away. Absolutely. Right? If we post a reel about the podcast, and it's a boring reel about this podcast, you guys are gonna swipe straight through it. Absolutely. It's the same thing. If it's like way too hard for them to understand how to get connected, there's nobody saying, "Oh, this is what you do. This is the next 3 steps." Then they're more than likely going to walk away, find a different church, or not even be interested. It's not our goal. It's not our responsibility to get them saved, but it's our responsibility to open up a space to where the Holy Spirit can reach them.
Absolutely. And create that space over and over again. The second thing I would give is focus on leader growth more than student growth. Okay. So I know that almost seems contradictory to the first statement I said, but it's not. You can do a small group of students that you are developing, I would say. But you also should be focusing on your leader growth. Here's what's crazy to me is we focus so much on students, when the reality is, if you're a middle school pastor, you got 3 years with them, maybe 2 years. Okay. High school pastor, you got 4 years, maybe 5 years if they get held back. But you are going to focus on those students and pour your blood, sweat, and tears into a kid that's going to leave you in 2 or 5 years. When the truth is, if you're doing it really well, number one, you're lasting a long time. And and back to the small things, is you're focused on your spiritual health too. That's another small thing I skipped over. I was trying to remember. You got to focus on your spirituality, your growth, because at the end of the day, that's the most important thing in you as a leader. Is how are you spending time? Are you doing the small things and pulling away like Jesus did? Are you like developing yourself, because you can't give what you don't have? And that focus on the leadership development. Are you pouring into your leaders that could be there for 15 to 20 years? Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Your small group leaders are going to take it way further than you ever could.
100%. I think we said it on a podcast before, but take care of the people who are going to be there for 20 years so that they can take care of the people who are going to be there for 3 or 4 years.
Absolutely. And here's the biggest thing is if you really want to see like a numerical growth student-wise, then focus on growing your leaders and letting them catch the vision. And then they're going to be the ones that are following up. They're going to be the ones that are really getting in the trenches. What I love is when I talk to my leaders, or I'll talk to a family, and I will hear them tell stories about a situation that happened and a parent reached out to them and they didn't reach out to me.
Yeah.
And that's what I want.
That's a win.
I don't want it to be built on my shoulders. It's not the Jared Furds ministry. No, it's like I want these students to know this is my pastor that I have a tangible connection with, and I can reach out to this guy or this gal, and that they're going to love me.
And there's like small little practicals ways to do that. Obviously,
absolutely.
One of the best things I've learned recently is not every leader wants to be sat down for coffee and say, how are you doing? And then it's an awkward because you don't know how to finish the conversation. And then you're like, should we be here for an hour? When you're in the car driving, just give every single leader you have a quick call. Yeah. Just choose a day. Say this person, Monday's going to be for the freshmen, or Monday's going to be for the 8th graders, or whatever. And you're going to call those leaders and just do a quick little 5-minute check-in. If they don't answer, leave a voicemail, say, hey, call back if you want. Yeah. But at least then at that moment, they know that you thought about them throughout the day.
Absolutely. And two, what's their onboarding? What's their, shoot videos. I love that. Download Youth Ministry has a great leadership university thing. They do a 1-year national training. Like, hop on that if you don't have the time or resources to whatever to train or sit, and people's schedules are busy. But here's like a quick video, here's this, here's that, here's a blog on this, here's that. Like, give them tangible tools to help them grow. A lot of them may not need it, but then once you developed a good core, then get those leaders to be coaches to the next generation of leaders. And then you just kind of like, you begin this process of, oh, hey, this is the head small group leader, and I got 2 trainees kind of underneath you. Just ask them. Like, go into them. Like, don't meet with me. Meet with Roger. Roger's been doing this for 15 years. Ask him how to last. You know what I mean? So think small. Your own growth, student leadership development. Every student matters. Making them feel welcome. 2, focusing on leader growth over student growth, your growth, as well as your adult leaders' growth. And 3 is go big. So if we're going to focus on growth, here's the thing is, yes, we want to do the small things well. Yes, we want to focus on student leadership, but we also want to do big things. Yeah. Like, wow them, blow their mind. Here's what kills me is I worked at a church, and I remember this honestly ticked me off, is we were trying to do something, and a youth pastor was like, that just seems like too much work. If that feels like too much work, like, just focus on me. If it feels like too much work and you're a youth ministry, just quit. Like, quit. There's plenty of youth pastors that are dogs that are willing to run the race worth running. If you don't have that in you, pray and ask God to give you a spirit where you want to run hard, because I think student salvations are worth it. And here's crazy. We're literally doing this podcast on the piggyback of an event called Vertigo we do here. And Karsten was in the room, and I went nuts a few weeks ago, right? Yeah. I was pretty ticked.
If you don't think 1,300 kids in the middle in a room at one point getting to hear the gospel is a good thing, then you shouldn't be here. Yeah. That's his summary.
That's pretty much that's a great impression. But that's what it is, man. Like, at the end of the day, this race is worth running. We don't make great money. Like, I mean, like, we're students pastors. I'm very blessed to be here, and I make great money for what I do. But I don't make great money. Like, I could go out to the business world and make better. I could become a PE teacher, because they're making $100,000 I learned around here today. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
That's crazy.
Hey, respect to the PE
teachers. But still, that's a lot more than we make. But here's what I do, because I am passionate about students coming to know Christ. And here's how passionate I hope that you catch through this, is that I'm going to do an event where I'm going to work like I've never worked before, because when students step into this environment, I want them, whether they receive the gospel or not, to have such a great experience that 20 years later, when their kids are in middle school, they want to send their kids to have such a great experience. And my hope and prayer in doing that is that eventually the Holy Spirit does what the Holy Spirit does, and a family is transformed. Yeah, and that's why we do this. So do big events. Hang youth pastors from the ceiling. Shoot people with paintball guns. Build that crazy slip and slide. Like, get on that line of this is almost out of control chaos. And then lean over it, right?
Just lean over it just a little bit.
Just a little bit.
Bring the chaos.
Yeah, like we do a shooting range. We call it the Gauntlet here. And a couple years ago, we're like, this feels boring. I'm like, I'm just gonna park my car in the middle of this thing and let kids climb over my car, and it's like some weird junky car, and I'm like, whatever. So light up my car, have kids climb over it, run around. It's like my windshield got cracked. Who cares? Like, It was awesome.
Yeah, who cares? Hey, this is what you learn. Crack your windshield.
Crack your
windshield for the sake of the gospel.
Yeah, but go big. Do big events. Do outreach events. And don't do it like every single week, but like once a month. Do something that students want to be a part of, and you really create this excitement for. So yes, so one, okay, small things. Think small. Like how do we do student leadership? How do we grow? How do we get like spiritually deep? Okay. 2, focus on leadership growth. 3, go big. And 4, healthy things grow.
Yep.
Healthy things grow. And here's what I mean by this. You got to analyze everything.
Yep.
Okay. If you did a big event and no one showed up, why did no one show up? Were you not making phone calls? Did you not advertise it well? Were your students, leaders not bought in? Was your staff not bought in? Okay, like if you like, and here's the thing too is you should calculate numbers. So I remember early on in my youth ministry, I was like, this is so stupid. Why are they taking attendance? Like, why do they care what the middle school numbers are or high school numbers, whatever it may be? Why do they care so much? And it's because healthy things grow. And here's what I found out too is like, I'll be like 1 week I'll be 60, next week 70, next week 30, and I'm like, what's going on? If you're measuring your numbers week to week, you're gonna fail and you're gonna beat yourself up.
Sure.
There's ebbs and flows to the natural calendar. What you need to do is get August of 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and then you need to look from August week 1 and be like, oh, this year we had 20, this year we had 30. Oh, we're growing. This year we had 10. You know what I mean? And each week you kind of measure it. Because then summer camps, compare numbers. How many do you bring? How many? Now, I understand there's going to be a bigger class or a smaller class.
Sure.
But the natural thing is you should also be measuring things that matter. So it's not just attendance. What is baptisms? I don't measure salvations because a lot of students will raise their hand. It's really hard to track, but it's easy to track baptisms. Man, every year we should be adding a few students to getting baptized. Like, oh, hey, if we baptize 10 this year, our goal is to baptize 12 next year. Because baptisms are salvations of students that not only accepted Christ, but then converted and are walking, their life's changed. So I'm going to measure these things. I'm going to measure attendance because every student matters. I'm going to measure baptism. If it is worth doing and spending time on it is worth measuring.
It's worth measuring.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So measure every aspect, facet of your ministry. And the truth is, if something's not growing or something's not going right, something is unhealthy.
Yep.
Yeah. And it's the truth. And here's the thing is it's really hard. And I have to do this all the time. I'll do an event and it won't go what I hoped or something was amiss. And if I have a couple misses in a row, I'm going to reevaluate it because the definition of insanity, we all know it, is doing the same exact thing, expecting different results. And so I'm not going to keep running the same play for youth group if it's not working. I'm going to try different things new. Yes, I'm still going to preach the gospel. Yes, I'm still going to do small groups. Yes, I'm still going to do the small things that matter.
Yep.
But if I'm not attracting lost students, or if I notice that students are coming to know Christ and then they're falling off, well, I gotta figure out what's going on the back end. Why am I losing so many students on the back end as well? Yeah. So what are these things that you're measuring that are going to help you really go? Create a scoreboard of like things you measure. So I do attendance every week. I'll do baptisms every year. I'll do summer camp, and I'll do leader retention. Those are the big things that I measure. If I can retain leaders, that means I'm growing and they're loving it and they're inviting their friends. Like if I always want a positive every year, I don't want to lose more leaders than I gain. Now, losing, that doesn't mean they go to high school.
Right.
That's retaining. That's a win. They moved up with their group. But losing is at the end of the year, I didn't feel it. I wasn't. No, if that's the case, there's something there.
Sure.
If I don't have less baptisms, well, my evangelism or outreach is off. Something's not there. My onboarding for welcoming new students, it's too hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If attendance is off, well, am I not on students' campuses? Am I not doing the things like, well, am I not retaining? Like, how many weeks are they coming in a row? Like really become like like just in love with the numbers of because these numbers are students. They're actual students and they actually matter. So those would be the 4 things.
Yeah, I like what you said about what Kurt says is look at what you do and ask yourself why you do it, evaluate it.
Yeah.
Because if you're doing stuff that does not matter and isn't making an impact, throw it away because it's going to be a waste of your time.
Absolutely. So think small, focus on leader growth, go big, healthy things grow.
Yeah. Now we just have a couple of questions for you to get a gauge on whether or not your youth group is growing in depth and growing in student attendance, and if it's all going properly. Question number 1 is this: are we making disciples, or are we just drawing a crowd? Right? You look at Jesus, he had his disciples, and because he had his disciples, it drew a crowd. So you're just making disciples, or are you drawing a crowd? And how can you do both?
Yeah, that's the thought there. Yeah, so it's okay to draw a crowd.
Yeah.
And it's okay to make disciples. But if you're not doing both, why are you not even doing both?
Right.
They should be coming hand in hand. Yeah. Question 2?
Question 2 is, are your students inviting their friends because they see Jesus changing lives? They look at your ministry and they go, the Holy Spirit's, maybe they don't even know what the Holy Spirit is, but they're like, something is going on here. Yeah. Are people then going, I want to be a part of that. I want to invite my friends. My friends have to be a part of that. I got a shortest story. It won't be the shortest story ever, but short story is, there's this kid last year. We were on campus. We brought pizza to campus to a little Bible club. We called it Free Pizza Club. The kid then came to youth group later that night, and he gave his life to Christ, and he texted me the next day. He's like, bro, we need to have an assembly at school because everybody needs to know about this. Yeah. Like, are there students in your youth group that are going, something else needs to happen? More people need to find out about this. Yeah. So that question. And then the last one is, do we have a clear next step? Do you in your ministry have a clear next step for students to grow deeper once they start coming? Absolutely. The hardest thing that every church will ever answer ever. But what's the next step that they're going to do? Is it joining a small group? Is it serving to some capacity in your ministry? What does that look like? Absolutely. And I thought about that too, is gauge that from a 6th grade, coming in 6th grade to a 12th grade perspective, and grade that from a 1 type student, which is doesn't know God, doesn't attend church, doesn't want anything to do with God. So that's a 1 student. And then 2, 3, 4, or 2, 3, and then salvation, 4 student accepted Christ, 6 student is serving and doing things. Because what happens is, okay, what's my onboarding for that new student that shows up, that doesn't want to be here, that doesn't know God, doesn't have anything? Yeah. How do I get him connected to a small group? How do I get him coming back? How do I get him returning? Okay, those are great questions. But also, how do I keep that student who's a 6th and 8th grade, how do I keep them serving? How do I get them excited about the ministry? How do I keep them when they're a junior or senior from just going to adult ministry, or maybe that is a part of the process. They're serving in adult ministry. So think really through what's strategically what it is, so you retain students and you keep them always engaged. I think those are great questions. Yeah, that's good. So, hey, thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. Once again, when one of us get better, we all get better. Come on, baby. Thank you guys for tuning in. We love you. Have a great week. Bye-bye.